of the city.
The city.
That's right, the city.
Hey,
when
everybody.
You in the city.
Wow. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Education X Show.
Education X.
With your hosts, Grace and...
Boom. Because when it comes to X, it's a placeholder. We don't know what's happening.
Ever.
Yeah.
It's just education. You're not going to know what's going on.
Education and then the X.
X.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for tuning in. We are going to get right into our topic for the day. Oh, I'm sorry. This is Education X Show where we discuss and dissect the obscure elements in education
I'm going to let her run that one
off. Of educators.
Right.
Because I did forget.
Yeah, she did.
I'm ready to get
right, that goes to show
topic.
you how frantic she is.
I'm ready. Let's go. Let's go.
That goes, you need to cut down on the caffeine and sugar in your diet, please.
I can cut down on the sugar.
Yeah. Caffeine, all of the type of uppers and everything you got going on. But anyway,
coffee.
Coffee. Where you from? Where you from?
Coffee.
All right, so rightfully so though, especially, and we really want some comments and feedback about this topic.
We do.
It's called the Masculinity Affinity.
Right.
Now, we got to give some glossary and some definitions before we get deep into it. But let's get right to some plugs, tugs, and hugs. Right now, we don't have any plugs other than we're going to be traveling in May. Yep. We'll be headed to Virginia and Oklahoma. So we're really excited and looking forward to that.
Oklahoma. I can't help it. I'm sorry. I can't help it. I'm sorry. We are so off topic. We keeping all of this.
That's the inside joke. But anyway, so we'll be headed. So we're looking forward to that. And I think one of those will actually be. We probably may do something on location, but either way, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So try to keep up with our Facebook page and things like that. Some tugs in reference to the Masculinity Affinity.
Okay.
We tugging on the coattails of educators who stifle the masculine energy in a school setting.
For lots of different reasons.
And watch what we do. Watch how we do what we do. Watch where we go.
Right.
Okay? And we give hugs full of love to the educators who embrace, encourage, and respect the masculine energy and the need for it in your average school setting. Now, before we go into the questions and get you all riled up,
right,
like this one, let's break down when we talk about the energy.
Yeah.
The energy that comes, the masculine or feminine energy. We 2019 people. As you can tell from this here, I come from an era.
Yeah,
right. I'm seasoned. Real seasoned. Like that.
You call it what you want.
Yeah, but anyway. So, I come from an era in the 80s, 90s where, and all the way up to now, where the energy coming off somebody isn't as traditional as we know it. Put it like that. So,
the energy.
I can be a man, but not give off the masculine energy that we traditionally think or assume as a man walks into a room. Same thing from a female, and we believe that goes well beyond just homosexuality, heterosexuality, transgender, the way people select their pronouns, all that.
Yes. It's an intersectionality of lots of different things and lots of different identities.
Because let me tell you something.
Identify with, cool.
I have seen men who, and we just talking here, we just interacting with y'all. We like that you all interact with us. So you can go in and we allow you like whatever, but when we say and we're going to use the stuff that we're going to use, we not coming at a specific genre group or identification, whatever.
Right.
What?
So you wanna give the foundation for why we even talking about this? Or you wanna do that later?
Let's do that later.
Okay.
Let's do that later
Okay.
so that we'll bring it all together. We'll
Okay.
culminate it. So I say that to say I have seen men who you would think they would command some attention and be over masculine as they walk into a room. Maybe they got a strong build. You can tell they work out. I've worked with men coming from the Marine Corps, or other armed forces, or they 6'7", 6'8", and they don't bring the masculine energy like somebody like the grandmama in the building. I mean, it just is what it is in people's personality. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about it, we want you to get in the frame of mind of it's not just males, females. It's not just a man, woman, an older man, a younger woman, a black woman. There are white men who can do it in front of a room full of young black men or whatever. So get out of, as best as you can, grow your mind, graduate your mind up into
for the next 15 minutes.
For the next 15 minutes, we talk about energy.
Yeah.
Okay?
Energy.
Best as you can. But we're going to roll. So, here's some questions to get it started. Maybe we got to pause for the calls for your gears to get to turning.
Right.
But what makes masculine energy in the school setting obscure in this current educational landscape? Like where we are now. Let's wait, because catch up.
Hey, it's cool.
How important is the feminine energy in the presence of the masculine energy in the school setting?
Okay.
Clash? No? Mm-hmm. Know your place, know your role.
And there are a lot of factors, of factors that relate to that question.
People don't respect that. Yeah. Can a school culture have too much masculine energy to be effective?
Too much masculine energy. Okay.
Should a school or district leadership team, or just the leadership itself, should it reflect the dominant energy in that school or district? Like traditionally, education has been female dominated. Mm-hmm. So, that's a factor you got to deal with in and of itself. But in this particular school or district, like you got a lot of all boys schools, all girls schools, whether they private or public, should the leadership reflect that? Like, it's an all boys school with all boys staff. You can't let no female lead us. Should it? Can it?
Yeah.
Is it possible that some hyper masculine energy, that's the hyper masculine, is it possible that hyper masculine energy can be mistaken as just being masculine? Now, you know what? I think now's the best time to give the foundation why this is an obscure topic.
Yeah.
And was meant for the Education X show.
So a few weeks ago, we had a great conversation with a friend and colleague about some students that had come to her asking about, where's my place here? Where's my place in this particular educational setting where I am a heterosexual man who does not necessarily feel like I fit in anywhere? Because according to this group of young men, most of the other men that are within their age group, within whatever their identity is, do not always read as masculine. So they did not feel like there was a place for them. They didn't have a place to fit in. And they felt like, do I have to change a lot of who I am, even if I don't read as whatever the other is, read as the other, because we'll just call it that for now. If I don't read as that.
Explain what reading is.
So reading as masculine, before. Reading as feminine, reading as gay, reading as trans, whatever it is, you read as your obvious characteristics, the way you present yourself, whatever it is about you, your mannerisms might read in a specific way. So whatever that looks like and whatever that means traditionally, if you don't should I then have to make some alterations to some of those things so that I fit into these particular groups, so that I fit into certain majors, so I can fit into certain disciplines, certain career choices, to be accepted, which is the main issue, and feel like there's a place where I belong. So I thought like that's a lot. Like that's really heavy. And then the other part of it was, okay, so then if that is how some young men are feeling, then how are some young women feeling, and how are they perceiving? What's their viewpoint? What's their identity? How do they define masculine or male or manhood or whatever it is, because of what this particular group of young men said about this is kind of our struggle right now for our generation, for young people who look like us, talk like us, walk like us. We're in this together, but there's so many different nuances. So that's why we're talking about this.
And to add to that foundation, having that conversation with someone who's a female and having this young man speak to her about it, it gives me a lot of running thoughts going through my head about, because this young man was not in the education field. I don't think he's not looking for it, but just the idea that I come from a time in which, I mean, that would be unheard of. It was, especially as a black male, it became part of my code switching. I'll go ahead and define code switching. Code switching is when you as a person feel the need to switch to a more acceptable behavioral stance or behavioral module in order to be accepted into a certain circle.
And the thing, and accepting or acceptability has to do with you code switching to a majority culture.
Exactly. So
to the majority culture.
So for me, code switching as a black male would be code switching to a more acceptable behavioral display in front of people who are not black males.
Your expression.
Right. Now for me in education, predominantly, white females, part of that code switching is not being seen as aggressive, not being seen as hyper masculine, not being seen as hostile in a way. And all of that, I operate in front of them. So therefore, for this young man to say that, I come from a time in which that was just part of the survival tactic working in the workforce. Then when I walked into education, I knew I had to rely on some of that code switching from my late teens, college years, and my 20s and stuff, walking in education. And it wasn't hard for me because it was just part of us growing up in that time in the 90s. And why is that? Because what was out there in the landscape was NWA, gangster rap,
the
media.
It's the culture that was present at that time.
We personally are not putting it all on that, but again, we know we got to deal with the perceptions of people who aren't a part of that culture, and they only are fed what's out there. And this is pre-internet, mind you, or pre-social media. Internet was on the beginning, so therefore, it resonated with me something fierce, that I come from a time in which just getting by with that code switching and not know how to not go too far in my manhood was allowable. Like that was okay. But now to think that level of masculinity is rare, like, man, so we came up with this topic because how does that funnel down into education? Because I also was professionally groomed in a setting in which in my school district we had the most males in our building, and it was pretty diverse, of ages, of races, of backgrounds, and it was quite evident from a lot of my female colleagues that the masculine energy in the building played a huge role in the culture, in how, when it was middle school, the 6, 7, and 8, when you are so weird, you don't know what kind of identity and discovery, and
you're trying to figure it out.
And this is like in the early 2000s up into the 2010s. So it was evident that our masculine energy played its role in respecting whatever identity you are. But we're going to get that mutual respect. So I know firsthand it can be done. You can't pull it off. Especially, we had a female leader who, I was on the interview team. She sought out a healthy balance of diversity in masculine and feminine energy. Her being a female, she was respectful to her and her feminine energy, that sometimes you gotta let the masculine energy take its course, especially in young males discovering, in the presence of young females discovering what masculine energy looks like, and not think you need to shut it down or respond to it in some sort of way. It was enough for us to know the impact we had on young females, and just to have a little fun. I recognize how our masculine energy broke up what can come with a lot of feminine energy. Hashtag messy, hashtag patty Betty, yeah. That's to say that's not all put on just females, because we have some females who were straight to the point, could handle their business too. I didn't feel, as a dean of students, I had to come and rescue some of the females in my building, but the feminine energy and masculine energy, it can work hand in hand, like a unit, collaboratively. Just like if you have a household that is it has a good solid foundation on the respect for the energy from both halves, you can have that in a school setting.
You can.
It's very, very important, very impactful when middle school, or nowadays intermediate grades too.
So I think it's helpful to define what we're talking about, not us, but in your spaces where you are, when you're having these conversations. If a student comes to you, if a peer comes to you, if someone's like, is it me? I'm just kind of wondering. Right. I think it's important to define what you're talking about when you say in that setting, what you mean by toxic masculinity, hyper masculinity, masculinity in general. Like, what is it that you're seeing? What do you observe? And it goes back to what we train on and what we provide presentations on all the time, the culture of humility. So what do you know about that individual person that's going to help you get to know who they are, their cultural identities, how they understand themselves? And then what do you know about yourself that helps you balance some of this energy that's within that space? So if you are a female teacher that has predominantly boys in your classroom, what kind of balance are you trying to create in there so that you get to understand who these individual students are beyond just the masculine vibrato that is, or their maleness? But what do you actually know about these students? You might have some students who are struggling, they're trying to figure it out, they don't know what to do, especially in middle school, but even in elementary school, they're just trying to figure it out. They have no clue. So, and
let's not forget where they come from and the things they bring with them.
Right. So how are you creating some sort of balance? But in terms of just having those types of conversations, define what you're talking about.
And as we go back to the title, the masculinity affinity, meaning, and let's just go ahead and call it what it is from some of the landscape that's around us. The infamous Gillette commercial that talked about hypermasculinity and the response that it got, the criticisms and whatever that it got, the comments that it received over that. The affinity that is, and of course it's coming on the heels of like the Me Too movement and harassment and how we need to operate differently around femininity. Okay, great. But now has our society and our current landscape have we done a beeline to the other side, to where now the masculinity affinity is over labeling what masculinity should look like? How in some places we want to cut off masculinity in certain aspects by making young boys be a certain way. There's one book that I read and I've used a lot, especially with my restorative justice practices and our social emotional learning curriculum. Believe it's called 200 Ways to Raise a Boy's Emotional Intelligence. You can Google that, Amazon, a bunch of different, and a bunch of other ones out there that talk about how you can incorporate into curriculum. you incorporate into like your advisories, your after school extracurricular activities and groups. A lot of boys learn a lot about ourselves through coaches, learning in groups, through teams. We learn all the bad stuff or habits and stuff that you can't believe you believed at one age when you get an adult. Like, I believe that crap. That's us.
Yeah.
But the age-old boys will be boys, and we gotta let that happen. And we rough and tumble. Not necessarily, but that also does not mean when you see that, oh, we gotta put a stop to that now. And that's what we mean by the masculinity affinity or the masculine energy. It can exist. It's not all volatile or hostile or it's gonna lead to bad stuff, but it does not mean we run 40 going in the other direction to shut that down, because we are who we are as individuals, as people.
And that's the thing, as individuals, who are you?
Yes.
Not who are you as a part of a larger group.
Yes.
Who are you? And because everybody wants to feel like they have a place to belong, they can fit in, they can connect with people.
Acceptability is correlated with connectability.
We all want that. We all want that.
Right.
Then the other side of that, and I think I mentioned it before, is the female's perspective of what masculinity looks like, especially, and it's very generational. So my generation, we have I think, a very different perspective, viewpoint, ideals about masculinity, manhood, like, how to care themselves, or man, all these things, or, what they do. We think differently about that. We look for different things. And I think, maybe millennials or generation, what are they? Z, generation Z.
Oh.
No. So they see things very differently. The way in which they experience men it's certainly different, I think, in many ways than my generation. It's when it comes to like relationships and that, and relating, that sort of thing. So I think there's a lot of viewpoints that have to be considered. So this younger generation, I think they are bombarded with so much information and so many different ideas and perspectives, which is why they're confused all the time. We had this conversation on Monday with someone that when you start talking about, or you start telling students, you can just be who you are. They don't know what that is.
Clue.
They don't know.
Hey, I want you to tell them.
Yeah.
What do you think I am?
Yeah. Well, you tell me, because what they see is
I can't do
whatever
that.
on whatever reality TV show. Oh, I should be that way. Oh, I need to be that way. Instead of, let me try to figure
perception is not reality. It's perception.
Right.
It tells you right there in the beginning of the sentence. Perception is perception. Baker's bake, plumber's plum, and perception is perception, not reality.
Perceptors are perceptors. What did you say?
You know what I mean.
Right. So the masculinity affinity, this is just something that we wanted to talk about, to bring some conversation.
Throw it out there in the ether.
Yeah, see what you guys have to say about it. Definitely comment.
Butter roll.
Let us know what you think. How do you define it? Where do you see? Are you seeing examples of some of the things that we talked about, where maybe some students or maybe some people that are in your circle feel like, I don't really know where I fit, or I don't even know how to define or identify who I am in all of these various spaces. So talk back with us. We really want to know what you guys have to say about this particular topic, especially as it relates to education, because we are growing up men and growing up women. We're not growing up male and growing up female.
Because I had to deal with the idea of some parents seeing me as their child's 6th grade teacher as the first male that they had in a school in their whole career. Like, at their first time was in 6th grade. To see a man in a school teaching them every day.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah. Not as a sub, not as the custodian, not even as the principal. Like, man, they got a man in front of them. And the telltale sign, me and my partner teacher, a brother that, great friends with, we had to teach them like how to play football with 9 people in the playground. Now, my mistake thinking that I expected them to know that as young men, but there it is, the masculine energy. We had to...
Because I can't teach that.
Exactly, right.
I don't know nothing about that.
Well, you can. But
if I knew something about it, which is why I can't do it because I don't know anything about that.
so step aside.
And I'm fine to do that.
Right.
I can go do some other stuff. Thank you. All right, so thank you guys for watching the Education X show, where we discuss and dissect obscure elements from the viewpoint of educators. We'll be back next week with another show topic, something more exciting.
Yes.
Again, check the comments for any new information. Go to our website, www.parkeredanddevelopment.com.
That's right.
We will be all over the place, that's cool. All right, so thank you guys for watching.
All over the screen right there.
We're trying. Thank you guys for watching. We will see you guys later. This is Tyler Kitchen, and the right
not the wrong pieces.
The
right pieces, the right. Well, see stir that up.
Lose control with the bright lights of the city.